Hello and welcome back to the channel. What a wild 24 hours we have just had, with Elon and Donald Trump having a massive public spat, which caused Bitcoin to sell off and crash as low as $100,000. In today's video, we're going to discuss what happened, what the implications are for the markets, and what we expect to play out over the next few weeks. So last night, Bitcoin crashed almost 4% in a matter of hours as Elon and Donald Trump started trading blows on Twitter. And it all relates to the same thing: government debt, deficit spending, and the US government spending way more money than it can afford. We are just a week since Bitcoin closed its highest monthly candle close in history. Bitcoin is just 7% from all-time highs, but you would think Bitcoin was down in the 30k range with the sentiment on Twitter. Everyone is calling for lower prices, and this fake out caught everyone off guard. But healthily, Bitcoin closed inside the parallel channel last night and has reclaimed the heartline at $103,000 and looks very strong, bouncing up now over 3.5% since the bottom last night. Now, many people on X are going to claim this is a head and shoulders pattern, and the target is around 92k. Now, for me, you know my opinion on head and shoulders at the top of a range. They generally are just fake outs, and we saw that last night. This fake out here didn't transpire into lower closes, and no market structure was broken. Now, there's two possible scenarios where we go from here. Either this was a V-shaped recovery and we go much higher. We reclaim the $105,000, $106,000 area and we start going back up to all-time highs. Alternatively, we could come back down and revisit this channel low. If we look back at what happened in April, this is exactly what happened. We had the capitulation, we bounced, everybody got bullish again, and then we dropped back down to the low. This is pure manipulation by smart money. When the price drops, people start entering shorts down here because they think price is going to drop much lower. The price then rallies hard, trapping shorts and liquidating the shorts. Up here, everybody turns bullish, people start entering long trades and they crash the price again, liquidating the longs. They then do the exact same and price flies much higher. And that's why you see these massive reversal candles, because that's shorts closing and shorts liquidating, which causes a cascading effect. So over the next 24 hours, it wouldn't surprise me if we did bounce back down, put in a double bottom, but by the end of June, I do think we'll be back at all-time highs. And I've said for a while that I think 120k Bitcoin in June is a realistic expectation. And the reason I'm so bullish on this summer has everything to do with why Elon and Donald Trump fell out last night. If we turn our attention to the spat last night, the fallout, it's all over this one key number. The US national debt currently sits just short of $37 trillion, and it's well expected to exceed $40 trillion in the coming years. Many think by 2035, the US government will be in $50 trillion worth of debt. A huge problem for every American, because more debt means more interest expense. And right now, the US government spends more on servicing its debt every year than it does on the military. The cost just for interest expense for the US government is now $1.2 trillion, or $100 billion per month. That's money that they are spending where it could be going to either services, tax breaks for Americans, or just benefiting the country as a whole. The higher this number goes, the more interest expense costs and the more money they need to cover it. So over the past week or so, Elon Musk has been very vocal that he's not in favour of Trump's big beautiful bill. The bill includes tax breaks for people and it includes more spending. People expect it to increase the deficit by about $500 billion per year. That means the deficit would go from $2 trillion to $2.5 trillion. Trump argues he is making cost savings and bringing in more revenue with tariffs. So by bringing in more revenue, the deficit actually won't increase, even though they're spending more. On top of this, Doge was developed to cut government spending, once again reducing the deficit. So Trump's argument is that even with spending in the bill, it should be offset by savings and tariffs. Elon is not a fan and basically is insinuating that all the effort that he went to create Doge has actually been wiped out by Trump's big beautiful bill. Elon is campaigning to kill the bill. He's actually writing to senators and congressmen saying that he will fight against them in re-election if they vote for this bill. He's going after the bill and telling everybody to block it. This tweet alone got 51 million views. So when Elon speaks, there's a lot of people paying attention. Elon even created a tweet where he said, should they create a third party in America that actually represents the middle 80%? With over 4 million votes and over 56 million views, once again, it is important to recognise that Elon has a massive power over public opinion. And last night, Donald Trump retaliated, saying that Elon was wearing thin, and because the EV mandate, the subsidy that EV manufacturers get, was taken away, Elon went crazy. He then followed it up, saying the easiest way to save money, if Elon really is committed to saving money, is stop giving money out to EV companies. Donald Trump then tweeted saying that he didn't mind Elon turning against him, but he was turning against him when the bill was actually in favour of Americans. He says it gives tax cuts to every American and it's going to cut expenses by $1.6 trillion. Once again, Donald Trump is doubling down on this theory that increased spending in the bill won't actually lead to an increase in the deficit because of all the other programs they have in place, like tariffs and Doge. But this public spat turned nasty, with Elon claiming that Donald Trump is on the Epstein list, and then newspaper reports coming out saying that the reason Elon Musk has a black eye is because he got in a confrontation with Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. Now, all this takes us back to Bitcoin and why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin in the short term. It's because no matter who is elected, they're going to spend more money than they bring in. That has become an obvious fact over the last 20 years. Democrats, Republicans, they all spend more than tax receipts, leading to borrowing, leading to debt, which leading to interest expense. Now for me, I totally understand why Elon's annoyed. Last night alone, the Tesla stock dropped 14% because of this spat with Donald Trump. And if we look at when Donald Trump took office, up here with the orange circle, Tesla stock dropped 50% because of Elon's involvement with the Trump administration. Elon's job was to cut wasteful spending from the government. Fraud, any abuse like that, he was to get rid of. And he targeted over $1 trillion in savings, which would cut the deficit in half. Now, just 5 months in, Elon has managed to cut almost $200 billion from the deficit, but a lot of those spending cuts and those cutbacks have been reversed. And the reason for that is Donald Trump understands that he has to play both sides. At the end of the day, Donald Trump is a politician. He might be a businessman, but he's also a politician. And government efficiency and business efficiency are two different things. So for me, I think Elon has tried to be as ruthless as he was with Twitter, with Tesla, with SpaceX, and it just doesn't wash with the government because of the amount of bureaucracy, because of judges, and because of the amount of favours politicians, even the president, need from the other side of the political spectrum. And this argument all goes back to what we said in our previous video. The one thing that we know is coming is massive debasement of the dollar. They're going to devalue the dollar and they're going to print trillions. Scott Bessent said that the US would never default on its debt. What he also said was that the easiest way to get rid of the debt was increase growth. So grow the economy faster than the debt is growing. Well, the debt right now is growing around 6% per year. And there's only one way to achieve growth of over 6% a year, and that is massive money printing. And this for me is why the 10-year yield has risen over recent weeks. This orange circle is when Trump took office, and you can see they declined almost 20% because the bond market believed that between tariffs they were going to bring in more tax revenue, and with Doge they were going to cut spending, which meant that they were going to borrow less over the next 4 years. Recently, it's become clear that that is not going to happen. Money printing's coming, debasement of the dollar's coming, and massive borrowing is going to happen in the coming years. So the bond market has reacted, and I think Elon Musk has also reacted to that. Understand that no matter what happens, the government is always going to spend more than it collects, unlike any business that Elon Musk has operated. On top of this, I do understand if Elon Musk is annoyed because of the EV mandate, because at the end of the day, he is the biggest EV manufacturer in the States. Removing this incentive to buy a Tesla is a huge negative, especially while he gave up running his companies for a few months to benefit the government. He put all his effort into getting Donald Trump elected, and at the end of the day, he's sacrificed his companies for the benefit of the country, and now the country's basically told him they don't want his cuts. Remember, there was protests outside Tesla dealerships, there was Teslas getting set on fire, all because he was trying to improve the efficiency of the government. and maybe he just got sick of it. For me, this is all very bullish for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going much, much higher, and one of the reasons is exactly what Elon is feeling. He's come to the realization that they're going to spend ridiculous amounts of money. They're going to unleash trillions into the economy, and it's going to be bad for the average American because it's going to bring about inflation. It's one of those situations where it's going to be very good for crypto and investments and assets. It's going to be very bad for the average American that doesn't have assets, which I believe is why Trump is so pro-crypto, because he wants the average American to have access to assets that appreciate in value through money printing, and that's why he's so bullish on crypto. On top of this, I think this whole thing will blow over. I think this was just a distraction, massive manipulation of the Bitcoin price, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the next 48 to 72 hours. I do think we'll get some chop over the weekend, but I think by next week we'll be in the clear. And on top of that, we are then approaching the next Fed meeting with every macro signal pointing to a weaker economy. We've got higher unemployment, lower job growth, we've got lower CPI inflation and lower PPI inflation. Yet 97.6% of people still believe there will be no rate cut in June. For me, if we don't get a rate cut in June, that's fine. If we don't get one in July, I'll be very surprised. And Trump is already tweeting more about Jerome Powell and why he's so late to the party. The ECB has now cut rates 8 times, and the US is still paused. I do think we will get a surprise at the next Fed meeting. I'm not saying we'll get a rate cut, but I do think we'll get a much more dovish Jerome Powell. And the reason for that is the economy looks pretty weak, and they need some rate cuts to start stimulating growth. But the biggest thing the government needs right now is clarity. There is no clarity. If we look at the December odds of a rate cut, it's all over the place. There's absolutely no clarity. No one can forecast 6 months out. If you're a $1 trillion hedge fund, how do you invest when you don't know what's coming in the next week or month? And it's the exact reason why right now there's $7 trillion sitting on the sidelines. You can't invest trillions of dollars when you don't know what is coming. Will tariffs be announced? Will they go through with tariffs? Will they cut back tariffs? Will Doge succeed? Elon leaves Doge. Rate cuts. All these things are just causing massive uncertainty for institutional investors, which is why there's no liquidity in the markets. Last night, I believe, was just an opportunity by market makers and smart money to crash prices. There are lots of people trying to buy Bitcoin right now, whether it be ETFs, BlackRock, MicroStrategy, and all the other Bitcoin companies that seem to be coming out the woodwork. No one wants to buy at $112,000. So crashing the price refills the coffers for places like Binance, Coinbase, and OTC desks, allowing them to offer cheaper Bitcoin next week to the market. And that's what I believe happened last night. On top of this, I'm still not convinced the spat is real. I don't know if this is a drama created out of nothing so that the spending bill can get adopted, or the spending bill can get changed or adapted, or so that they can get rid of the debt ceiling. Even last night, Trump and Senator Warren are tweeting each other, agreeing with each other on getting rid of the debt ceiling. The whole thing feels like a simulation, and to me, there is no way this is realistic in real life. A big part of me thinks last night was a total charade to dump markets, maybe scoop up some cheap assets. I'm not entirely sure what outcome they were hoping for, but for me, there's no way this is a real crisis. Overall, I think this weekend could be interesting for Bitcoin. I do think we'll get back down to these lows, maybe not go as low as 100k, but maybe come down somewhere in the $101,000, $102,000 range before next week. I think we'll be much higher. I think if we break above 107,000 round about here, I do think that will be bullish and we'll be back into the top of the range. All-time high by the end of June, still my base case, 120k in June, I think is realistic, and there's a lot of things that can drive that in the coming weeks. That's all for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope that helped put things to ease. For me, the main thing right now is staying patient. These fake outs are going to continue to happen, and I believe it's just OTC desks trying to refill their coffers. They're trying to fill back up with Bitcoin because they keep running very low of supply. Times like this get scary, especially when there's flash crashes, especially when it's nonsense news like Musk and Trump falling out. But as always, we're in CC Pro giving the latest updates. Last night we were giving updates on price, key levels to watch, and the market as a whole. If you're not a member, sign up now and make sure you are kept up to date with all the latest information. We'll be back with more videos coming very soon. For now, I will catch you later.